Stuck in a dinner rut? Let Cook Unity handle dinner with chef-crafted meals delivered right to your door. Cook Unity makes it easy with new menu drops, weekly recommendations, and a growing community of award-winning chefs. Plus, over 400 flavorful meals for every palate. Shake up your meal routine. Go to cookunity.com/mealtime50 or enter code mealtime50 before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's cookunity.com/mealtime50.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living Associates have been committed to creating a vibrant culture and delivering exceptional services, making Brightview a great place to work and live. If you're looking for a rewarding opportunity to serve your local community and grow, we want you to join our team. Brightview Senior Living is growing and actively seeking vibrant associates to join our community teams, including directors, healthcare, activities, hospitality, and dining. Apply today at careers.brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal employment opportunities. Text BV Jobs to 97211 to apply.
Getting your prescription shouldn't be complicated. That's why United Health Group is eliminating up to 25% of reauthorizations for 180 medications that treat chronic conditions like high cholesterol, hypertension, and behavioral health. This will keep patients on medications, reduce workload for physicians and pharmacists, and lower administrative costs. Discover how United Health Group is making healthcare simpler at uhg.com.
My opinion is that Luke's favorite song is... I can tell you his least favorite song. It's In the End by Nick Jonas and the Administration. Look it up.
I'll take your word for it.
Look it up.
Welcome to Monster Donuts, a literary and historical deep dive into the Percy Jackson series and all of its following spin-offs. I'm Emily, a classic scholar-ish.
And I'm Phoebe, a dramaturg and story consultant. And today we're covering Season 2, Episode 3 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We board the Princess Andromeda. Big day for annoying people. This was a particularly fun one to watch because we have also boarded the Princess Andromeda. This is one of the Admiralty Suite is one of the sets that we got to explore back in January.
Yeah.
In probably the most fitting and hilarious way that you could explore the Admiralty Suite. But we'll get to that when we get to that part of the episode. But first, spoiler warning for the books. All books, including and beyond Percy Jackson, are fair game. So Heroes of Olympus, Trials of Apollo, they might come up in this episode. So if you don't want any spoilers, you may want to come back after you've read the books. But if you're sticking around, let's get into it.
So we open, much like last season, I think Season 1, Episode 3, we open on a very similar establishing shot of the Oracle's attic at Camp Half-Blood, including, very critically, the uneven scale in the shot, Ethan Nakamura.
Ethan Nakamura is coming. But this, I hadn't noticed, I hadn't even realized that, like, Season 1, Episode 3 also started the same way. When you said it, I was like, oh, duh. But, yeah, we're back in the attic receiving our prophecy. It makes so much sense based on our conversation about two sides of the same coin when we read Sea of Monsters, because part of that conversation was talking about Clarisse and, like, getting to see her hit all of the same beats that Percy did last season, and how our only frame of reference for what a quest looks like is Percy, and so you like have to compare them. That was something that was sort of in the back of my mind for this entire episode, like how Percy's father treats him versus Clarisse's father, and how Clarisse handles her prophecy versus how Percy handles it. Which is where Percy walks in saying, like, hi, I'm Percy, it's nice to meet you. Clarisse attempts to announce herself with authority, and then the moment the Oracle moves, cuts her head off.
It's very proper, the way she announces herself. She's like, I am Clarisse, daughter of Ares. And then she greets Ares, I think, in a very similar way, where it's so, like, by the book, it feels like. But then, as you said, like, as soon as, like, something happens, though, she immediately, I wrote in my notes, undercuts, haha, that by just, like, reacting. in a way that's
Yeah.
not in line with the way she just was being.
But the Oracle reassembles herself and starts to give her prophecy by speaking through Clarisse.
Yes. I was like sitting in my chair, like, who is it gonna be? I thought it might be Ares for a minute.
That would make sense. What are your thoughts on who the Oracle chooses to come to you? Because I spent a lot of time after the scene thinking, like, why choose Gabe for Percy and Clarisse for Clarisse?
For me, for Gabe, it's like the Oracle maybe always comes to you as someone you kind of fear.
Someone you fear.
Like fear, or maybe someone who makes you doubt yourself. Maybe is a better way to put it. Because I think, at least in the books, Gabe kind of makes Percy doubt himself.
I went a similar direction. I wondered if, in the show at least, the Oracle comes to you in the form of someone who you doubt. Because she wants you to listen to her, but because it's a prophecy, you sort of should doubt her. Like, she wants you to question her words and not to take them at face value. Like, it's sort of a person who, when they say those words to you, forces you to consider all of its meanings because it's someone who you're going to doubt. So, in Percy's case, Gabe, and in Clarisse's case, herself.
I love that read, because, like, for Clarisse, I think it just makes so much sense of what we see of her character in this episode.
Yeah, this was something that I started to think about as I went through the episode and was watching Clarisse and her relationship with herself. Because this is a big episode for, like, starting to understand her in the show. I'd say it's probably our first real window into the way she thinks, the way she acts, why she is the way that she is.
So we get her prophecy.
You shall sail the iron ship with warriors of bone. You shall find what you seek and make it your own. But despair for your life entombed within stone, and fail without friends to fly home alone. We don't get the full prophecy in this episode, we just get and fail, and it drifts off.
So I think it's clear, like, that's what she hears the most.
And then we cut over to her being told to choose who will join her on her quest. And if you know the prophecy, you can, like, feel that fail without friends ringing in her mind.
So what do you think she is thinking in that moment?
I was thinking about this when I saw Clarisse walk out alone. I think Clarisse is already probably feeling a little bit abandoned and alone because, you know, she probably feels that she doesn't have many people that she's really close with. Like, she has people who are afraid of her, and probably a lot of people who stay close to her because they don't want to be against her. But she doesn't have a lot of people who stand by her because they like her. And so I was just thinking when she came out alone about how lonely it must be to be Clarisse sometimes. But because we saw her in the last episode reaching out to Chris and he tells her to back up, she decides to bring Annabeth on a quest. Annabeth immediately leaves her with Percy. It just feels like no wonder that she left all on her own because she doesn't really have people who she can call hers yet. And she was probably sort of feeling like already alone in some ways, which I think this sets us up for a really a satisfying arc when it comes to, like, Clarisse and her relationships with Percy or with Annabeth as we start to build those out, but also with, like, Chris as someone who she's been reaching out to, as someone who she's then going to try to bring back to her. And then later on, when we get Selena, her finding someone who somehow, against all odds, like, likes her for her without her needing to try so hard.
I think in this, especially in the scene with Ares, you can really see her mindset, and you can see how Ares specifically may have shaped her mindset in terms of, like, how she feels about working with other people and, like, being vulnerable. Yeah.
I think that's part of what I mean. I don't so much mean, like, having people around her, because she obviously does have people around her. I think it's more people who she can open up with and be, like, not have this, like, persona on.
Yeah. Then we cut to the first of many great needle drops this episode.
We've got Latin pop blasting on The Princess Andromeda. I support every decision that Luke ever makes.
So Luke is also a DNCE fan.
Yes, and we'll get to that.
Of course he is. He's just like you.
Luke is just like me. That's true. Let's talk about the international implications of Luke Castellan enjoying the Jonas Brothers. So we're on the Princess Andromeda, and we find a room that's still under construction and make it our home base.
Did you notice the sign, though? It was like a little chibi of a girl in a Greek chiton, and I was looking at it, and I was like, how crazy would this be if this was supposed to be Annabeth? She's got a little hammer.
Does it look like Annabeth?
I mean, it's not like it's like a dead ringer for Leah, but like, what if?
We're giving Luke a lot of jobs on this ship.
Like, what if he's building this for his family, Phoebe? What if?
Uh-huh.
I saw it and I was like, I wonder if this is like a little way of like, you know, she's here on the ship with him in spirit. At least the version of her that he is still holding out hope will join him. You know?
Luke is a DJ. He's making the art for the construction sign.
If you had a cruise ship, you would be making the playlist, Phoebe.
Oh yeah, I'm not walking around a cruise ship and not enjoying the music I'm hearing. Especially if I'm Luke and I'm particular in many ways.
So we get to the room and Tyson's still wet, but comments on the fact that Percy's already dry. But if Tyson's also all wet, that means Annabeth must be too. So she's I guess she just can handle being cold better. There's also like a lot of soulless artwork around this suite, but there is one Greek temple painting, and I spent so long trying to figure out what ruins those were, and it's not interesting.
It's interesting that he would even put
Yeah.
art of a Greek temple on the walls, though.
Well, again, I feel like it's kind of sneaking in, because as far as I could tell, it's, I think, a temple to Zeus, ? Which, again, it's like, I guess Thalia's there, but I don't know, it is there.
Yeah. Kind of like a dartboard. Maybe you're meant to punch it. And so while Tyson changes, we get this conversation between Percy and Annabeth, where Percy tells Annabeth that it's all right for her to keep whatever she's keeping from him a secret, because he trusts that Annabeth and Chiron have a good reason to be keeping a secret. But he says that he needs her to tell him when he's getting too close to whatever she's afraid of, and they come up with a code word, which is boon. Boon is such an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's like a gift from the gods.
Mm-hmm.
A reward.
What I've rationalized it as it's a gift from the gods that they can't refuse to give it to you. It's something you're asking of them that they can't refuse. And so if she says boon, it's asking of him that he stop and he can't refuse it. It also had me thinking about the boon that is offered to Percy by the gods at the end of the series, and how all of that is also connected to the prophecy that the boon represents, and that it's all about Annabeth asking something of him that can he refuse it or not. That's it's a fun word to choose for this.
Yeah.
So we cut back to Clarisse, who is walking out past Thalia's tree, which is looking a little worse for wear. And as she heads out, Ares just sort of strolls up.
Mm-hmm. There's some very banging music behind him. And she, again, is very deferent. She's like, I'm humbled by your presence. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, again, given the characterization of Ares we've gotten from season 1, is so different in terms of, like, the way he's characterized in this show. Which is one of the reasons why, like, with this scene coming up, I was like, I really wonder how this is going to go, because the version of Ares we got is so irreverent. So I was very curious to see, like, how they're going to kind of continue his character, especially, like, knowing how he appears in the book Sea of Monsters with Clarisse, where it's a lot more serious and scary. And I actually really think they tread the line really well here. When he said, like, ready to burn it all down, I thought that was interesting. because I know you were talking about the Percy Clarisse parallels at the beginning of the episode, but this line made me start thinking about the Luke Clarisse parallels in this episode.
There are so many of those in this episode. I was like, for me, you shouldn't have, guys.
But I was really thinking about that a lot. And specifically the line that comes up a little later in the scene, or not the line, the word that comes up a little later in the scene that I was thinking about a lot this episode was the word loser. The crew of the Ironclad specifically, they're all like canonically losers. That's how they're introduced to us. But I think it's really interesting how they develop and like our understanding of them develops over the course of this episode. But also just specifically thinking about the relationship between Clarisse's pride, how Ares is just sort of standing in front of her, and like all of these soldiers that are bound to his service being like, ugh, and they're all losers. I can't believe I always get the losers. And like how much he clearly dislikes people he deems to be losers, despite like literally being their god that they're like bound in service to. This scene where Ares takes her to the crew, it's also, I think, so like, it's such an insidious way of writing him, where he's just sort of like, I'm helping you out, but then he also instantly undermines her in front of everybody. And he really, like, he's like saying like, I'm helping you out a lot, but also I'm gonna like completely call out your inexperience, and I'm gonna like immediately like call everybody like a loser in front of them, and like they're not gonna respect. He basically makes it very difficult for her to earn their respect.
Yeah. Like saying this little girl here is your new commander. The Clarisse scenes feel very gendered to me in this episode. It reminded me of Ares' attitude toward Clarisse, specifically because she's a girl in The Stolen Chariot. That it's been ages since he let one of his daughters ride the chariot. It's usually something that only the sons of Ares do when they turn 15. And that she, like, super has to prove herself because she's a girl. So this moment, introducing her like that, and then watching her in this episode in a ship full of men far older than her, and, like, trying to figure out how do I even begin to gain control of this crew, it felt like a part of that story.
Yeah. And I think also this is where you really see what I was talking about earlier. Like, we get the overt kind of threat from Ares of, like, you know what'll happen if you fail, I'm paraphrasing, at the end. But I think, like, the whole scene, it's really strongly implied just how much he does not respect people he deems to be losers. And I think the implication of everything even before that is, like, if you fail me and if you lose, I will look at you like I'm looking at the rest of these guys.
Yeah.
And he's also, well, and to add salt to the wound, even he's like in a way kind of comparing her to Percy, like not a lot, not exactly, but he's like, he's talking about the fact that like Percy's got a head start, you know, like he's basically telling her like, I know you're competing against Percy right now. Like he's pitting them against each other.
I imagine there's a part of him that's thinking, because he does more in this scene than pretty much any god we've ever seen for their child. He's helping her out a lot. Like considering what we were just talking about with Hermes in comparison to the other gods and their attitudes toward their children and what they'll do for them, when they'll reach out, why they'll reach out. I started to think that maybe he is offering her so much and attempting to threaten her into succeeding, potentially partially to clear up some of his name after last season. That like a child of Ares succeeding in this way could only help him.
And he introduces her to his crew. I love the attention to detail in all of these costumes. I saw like I think it's a Carthaginian. There's a Japanese officer from World War II. There's a Viking. There's a medieval guy. There's a French guy. There's like some Napoleonic guy. There's a Russian sailor. Like his cap has Russian on it. There's so many cool, like again, hats off to the costume department on this one. They're all so good. Like there's such detail.
They're all very distinct, yeah.
Yeah. And of course our friend Mitch from Blockbuster.
Mitch from Blockbuster. I'm obsessed with him. I think that's the funniest joke in this episode,
so
in the season so far.
So good.
So We cut back to the Princess Andromeda. DNCE is blasting.
So what's your lyrical analysis of this song and its relationship to this episode, Phoebe?
Right, because the first song we heard was... What were the lyrics? Oh, there's something in the water. So what does it mean that Cake by the Ocean is playing?
Well, specifically, Talk to Me, Baby is the first lyric we hear.
Talk to me, baby. I'm going blind from the sweet, sweet craven. Whoa. Let's lose our minds and go crazy, crazy is the clean version.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going blind. Maybe Polyphemus? Question mark?
I'm going blind. Okay. I was going sweet, sweet craving. Like maybe, we're blinded to the realities on the ship. we're blinded to, we're blinded from the temptation toward Kronos. That's as much as I have. That's all I have for you.
I was like, talk to me, baby. I was like, it's kind of like how they need to go talk to Luke.
Right. He's using this song to summon them up to the Admiralty Suite.
Can you imagine just like being like on the top deck of your cruise ship and you're like, I need to talk to these guys. Hit play.
I know just the song. Anyway, this scene is our proper introduction to Allison, who is sitting out by the pool reading her Bow Huntress magazine.
Yeah.
I'm assuming on watch, but I also like to think that she just hangs out there.
She's in a bathing suit. When they dump out her bag later, she's got like a makeup bag. She's got a claw clip. I think she's just chilling. I've been trying to figure out her motivations in this scene because she's the one that calls attention to herself.
Maybe she just really wants to fight. She clearly seems like that's kind of her thing. We learn a couple things about Allison in this scene. We find out she graduated camp at some point. Mm-hmm. Probably recently, from what we said in episode 1. And that's a concept that we don't really have this early on in the books, of like a camper that's graduated. Mm-hmm. I think, now we do, because we have a couple campers who have gone off to college. But at this point in the books, it's treated like making it to an age old enough to graduate is an achievement. Mm-hmm. It also reminded me of the conversation that we had about Luke recently, about how he was 19 in the first book and so could have left and gone on to start a life, explore the world like Allison is supposedly doing. Like all of the campers that we see make it to 19 later in the series, but he sticks around. But yeah, we also learn that she's a daughter of Apollo.
Alas, my theory.
Yeah, it seems everyone else was right.
I love the way she says glory to Athena is fascinating to me. Like she's an actress.
Oh, Beatrice gets us in this episode. The acting choices and even the way she's like chewing her gum in this scene.
No, she's so good.
Like her line delivery, her screams later in the episode. I'm so fascinated by Allison and what's brought her to this unhinged point in her life.
So again, they don't notice her at all. She gets up and she's like, Annabeth? And as they're talking, Percy puts it together that she attacked Grover. And you see her face when she's made. Did she smile a little? Because that's what I saw. It looked like she kind of smiles a little like, Like, part of me is like, is she trying to be like, sorry, Luke, they caught me. I had no choice. Like, what's going on with her?
Yeah, I think she is probably glad to have the excuse to try and kill them right here, right now.
Yeah.
I do think it's noteworthy, though, that, like, her first line, again, is Luke won't be happy when I bring him your heads. But he'll get over it. I love the way she delivers that part. He'll get over it. But again, that thinking of what Luke will think first, which is what she did the first time we saw her, too. I want to see those two in a scene on their own. I want to see what's going on here.
Me too. Also, like, she knows that he wants to at least keep them alive. But it's interesting to me also that it doesn't seem like he's told her why. At least for Percy. Yeah,
I mean, maybe in her mind it's like these are attachments that he still has from when he was at camp.
Because Annabeth, again, is the ones that she greets. Like, she seeks out. Annabeth's the one she, like, really attacks. So they get into a huge fight, which ends with Allison going for Annabeth and Percy tackling Annabeth out of the way so that Allison, like, runs basically off the ship, which is crazy. So good. And they steal her bag. They bring it back to their room and dump it out, and inside find a golden key card with a little design on it that Percy, when he turns it sideways, realizes is the Scythe logo.
I enjoy this because this is what I did when I picked up the key card in the room where we got to play with all of the props. I picked it up and was like, what am I looking at? And then turned it and saw that it was a scythe and was like, oh. But as he's looking at it, Percy starts to hear Kronos' voice saying, hello again, little hero. This is the first time we've seen Kronos reach out like this while we're awake. Mm-hmm. So not a good sign.
No. And then Annabeth turns on the TV again. And we get the Princess Andromeda orientation film.
I'm so obsessed with this thing. Mm-hmm. Luke commissioned this, or like what? Was it the Triumvirate that commissioned this? Maybe it was them.
It's giving me Triumvirate vibes for sure. We got pictures though of like the last Dragonians, which they've been seeing wandering around on deck. We see them again bowling with flaming bowling balls. See, like, it looks like a hellhound buffet.
Yeah.
The shots. I really enjoyed this. And then I also really enjoyed the transitions shot into the next scene, which is we zoom out on the cruise ship and look at the flag, the Kronos Scythe flag that we see on the Princess Andromeda. And then it transitions to the flag on the Ironclad. And we now get to see Clarisse on the water with her crew, but they do not seem to take her authority seriously. But they seem to be bonding with each other, which I'm loving.
The sea shanty is so good.
So good. How I wrote down also, it's giving Long John Silver in the mess delivering the news.
It so is. What she should really be doing is stomping twice before she says anything.
Yeah. And they're all, like, bonding with each other. They're, like, like, the French and the British sailors that might have fought against each other are like, oh, no way, we sunk each other. That's so great. Like, everyone's just bonding. Yeah, it feels like Clarisse, when she first approaches them, is, like, mimicking Ares / being this, like, brash, like, putting down her crew type, like, presence. And it's just, like, absolutely nothing is working. So we cut back to the Princess Andromeda. And Percy and Annabeth are talking again in their room. I love this conversation so much.
It's just so Percy to have thought of a solution, and then the moment that he bumps up against it to be like, well, that's not fair.
I was thinking more like to just like not fully think through that aspect of the solution.
It made me think of like how important this will be later in the series to set that sort of thing up, that like he, when it comes to Luke, can't let go and can't let Annabeth make that choice for him. Like, that ability to yield that he'll need later on in the series is something that he demonstrably does not have at this point in the story. Like, it's a very small moment of it, but it establishes that, like, he will do away with his own idea as soon as it doesn't work within, like, what he wants to do. So Annabeth uses the keyword. Does Annabeth actually feel like this is getting too close to what she knows about the Great Prophecy, or is she lying? Did she immediately use this to lie?
My instinct is like, yes, because going to kill Luke, it like pushes Percy close to Kronos to me. Maybe I'm just using Sith rules, though, where it's just like, you have to kill the student has to kill the master or whatever.
I can think of reasons why Annabeth might think that we're getting too close to the prophecy. But I also kind of think that Percy might be right. And that she's just using the word to win any argument ever, even if she's wrong.
I mean, she definitely does not want Percy to kill Luke.
Yeah. She says, Luke has good reason to hate the gods. Kronos used that to manipulate him. I want to get him away from Kronos. I want to get him away from this ship. And they agree, capture instead of kill. I want to keep an eye on this, because Percy in the books obviously wants to kill Luke very badly. But it feels different here, because even though betrayal hits Percy just as hard, in both the show and the book. In the show, it just sort of makes him shut down. Like, that violence that comes with it in the books that we've talked about hasn't come up yet. Even when Luke first betrayed him, Percy apologized for hurting him. It's just interesting to me because this sentiment is like how Percy feels in the book. He wants to kill Luke. But because of the Percy that Sally has raised in the show, and because of the betrayals that we've seen him overcome, the context around it has shifted and makes this instinct on Percy's part feel so much more dramatic and so much more intense.
Yeah.
And so I want to keep an eye on this. My instinct is that it's because Luke isn't just hurting him in his betrayal, he's hurting Annabeth, he's hurting the camp. And so that's where it's escalating up to, let's kill that guy. But I do want to just watch out for this in the future as Percy continues to be betrayed. And as we watch this Percy and Luke relationship develop. So Percy says that he has a plan.
But then they apparently have no plan.
They do have a plan.
Which is what?
He says, I've got an idea, and then it cuts to Percy with a giant laundry cart.
Yeah.
So the plan is push him in the laundry cart. It's the most non-plan. I laughed out loud when I saw him rolling that out of the elevator. I was like, are you serious right now?
I didn't even really fully think about that because they pushed out the cart into this hallway, which is the same way we entered this set. And so the whole time my brain was like, oh my god, I know this hallway.
This was the highlight of the visit to me. Because the whole time we were there, they kept saying, like, we really want you guys to see the Admiralty Suite. We are trying to get lights on the Admiralty Suite so you can go see it. And it was like the entire first day that we were there, they were saying that. And like, I felt like such a fake fan. I was like, the what? And like, I looked in the book after and they do refer to it as the Admiralty Suite in the book. And I was like, wow, I really am a fake fan. It makes sense. It's like, what else would it be? But I didn't put it together for the longest time until I think it was Charlie was talking about it. And I was like, oh my god, that's like your house. Like, But eventually they were just like, it was like pretty late in the day. They figured we're not going to get lights on this thing. So we can bring you guys over there and you'll just have to explore it with the flashlights on your phones.
So we're walking over and we're in a group and Charlie and Dior were with us. We're like walking and talking and then all of a sudden, and I'm like, that can't be it. And then I took another couple steps and I was like, oh my god, it's the coffin.
Just lying in the middle. It wasn't in the set. It was just lying
on the floor. So we ran over there with Charlie and we took like so many pictures with the coffin.
So many pictures with it. Hopefully by this point we've posted at least one of them. Hopefully more.
Then Charlie and Dior kind of led us in and we had all of our phone flashlights on and we entered this hallway. And I want you all to imagine this hallway, like all of the artwork's on the walls. Like, and there's the doors that are closed. And it's looked like we walked in and I was like, oh my god, I'm transported. And it's like shaky cam horror movie and you'd like light up like a really creepy like painting. You're like, ah! Just like...
Yeah. It was very like any ghost hunting show where they go on a cruise ship, which is most ghost hunting shows. If you don't watch ghost hunting shows, you don't know. They go on a lot of cruise ships. But yeah, we're all like walking slowly down this hallway with our phone flashlights, led up to the doors of the Admiralty Suite.
And then we went inside and still had like most of the set dressing besides the coffin. And Charlie was sort of walking us around, like pointing out things, and it was awesome.
It was the funniest way you could possibly experience the Princess Andromeda, to experience it like a horror movie. When we were told that we were going to be planning a set visit, my literal first thought was, oh, I hope the Princess Andromeda set's still there. Like, my first thought was, I want to be on the Princess Andromeda. So
dream came true.
Dream achieved. The magic of Disney, I guess.
Yeah, dream. What's Disney's slogan? Dreams come true.
Where dreams come true is the Disney World one. People will talk about Disney World and say the happiest place on earth. That's not the Disney World slogan. That's Disneyland's slogan.
It's also wild to like have been shown this by Charlie, who is a delightful, nice person, and then like watch Luke in this space.
Two very different versions of Charlie are experienced in this room.
I love that we got pretty much the scene from the book, too, to transition us into the Admiralty Suite. I mean, thoughts on the fact that Allison is replacing Aureus and Agrius, the bear twins?
I guess I was thinking of the Lestrygonians as replacing them, but yeah.
Well, I mean, so she walks angrily off the elevator, sopping wet, and the two Lestrygonians behind her are, like, dragging what looks like a deflated lifeboat. So we do get a bit of an answer as to what happened there. But basically she angrily marches in, immediately gets let in by a guard. And then we get almost the exact scene from the book where Tyson is overhearing them and he's like mimicking their voices. And we do learn for sure that there is probably a spy at Camp Half-Blood. Luke seems very up to date on what's going on with Tyson and Percy.
There's also this line that I think shows a little bit of differing opinions on board the Princess Andromeda, because later on we'll get all this talk about how we treat monsters, who we don't call monsters here. And like we have this different attitude toward monsters. But Allison goes in there and says they've got a pet cyclops with them in a very like flippant way toward, you know, like it's the way that I just find it interesting that there are like different schools of thought around how we're treating monsters. No, we're not entirely on the same page on the Princess Andromeda. So Allison charges out at the front with her bow, and Luke comes out right behind them saying they're not going to fight, they're smarter than that. Which is funny because that was Percy's whole plan.
I do love the like subtle manipulation here. You know, he's kind of in his element, so he's just sort of like very much in command of the room in every sense.
Yeah, he's got a lot of that confidence that we talked about when we read The Sea of Monsters. You know, walking around without a sword. You know, while everyone else has pulled a sword on him, he just walks out like
in a sweater.
In a sweater, looking as vulnerable as anyone could. So we head into the Admiralty Suite. He says, a little nicer than Cabin 11, huh? Which is a line from the book. And it is a little nicer than Cabin 11. Also covered in paintings. And so is the hallway leading up to it.
Monster Donut Art History Edition commences.
The art in the hallway that leads up to these doors, I was able to identify most of these paintings. Not all of them. Most of the ones in the hallway are paintings of Kronos. But notably, I don't think any of them are like the Kronos eating his kid story. Either they're Kronos, like Lord of Time. Like, there's one called Kronos and His Child that I initially thought was like Kronos grabbing one of his kids to eat. But based on what I was able to find about it, it seems like it's more about like time taking youth. It's this one. That one is like right near the door and it's funny.
So the image that Phoebe's referring to, it's this guy with the scythe and he's holding like a toddler by one ankle upside down.
Yeah. There's also a painting called The Fall of the Titans, showing the Titans falling into Tartarus, like from their perspective, looking up at where they've come from. And that one's right near the door. A lot of these are like Baroque and Renaissance paintings, a lot of Baroque and Renaissance art, which I was also sort of like very idealized like version of the mythology.
Yeah, even the like big giant like the huge one behind the coffin is interesting to me because it's also seems like, I mean, there's like medieval armor in it. It's not classical.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of classical anything in this room.
Even his armor, it's got a kind of more modern neoclassical like design on it.
The ones I was most interested in are actually the two that are like right next to the door on the inside of the suite. Because there's one on either side. And I remember when I was in the room, there was one specifically that caught my eye that I was like, what is that? They're both depictions of the fight against the giants.
The Gigantomachie.
The one on the right is the battle between the gods and the giants by, I don't even know how you would say that, by Dutch last name.
Can I see it? I don't know what a WT is.
Right? The battle between the gods and the giants, which is a Dutch painting from 1608. And the one on the left, this is the one I'm into. This is the one I started reading about it and I was like, I have to see this in person. The one on the left is a painting called The Fall of the Giants by Giulio Romano. It's a Renaissance painting. It's actually a Renaissance fresco, and it's only a piece of a painting that covers the entire room, all of the walls and the ceiling. What Luke has framed on his wall is the ceiling of this room. When you walk into this room, you are at the level of the giants. Like, the giants are actually much bigger than you and are all around you on every wall. And they are being crushed, they're being killed, destroyed by the gods who are up on the ceiling above you. And when you look up, it's a domed ceiling, and if you look at the painting, it's these concentric circles going up and up and up. And so, like, the heavens feel massive looking up at it. And, like, so you're looking up as one of the giants up at, like, these gods who are raining down on you. But Luke has taken that part of the painting and put it at eye level. And put it where he can, like, stare them down. And I thought that was such a Luke move. To be like, oh, the entire kind of point of this painting is that you feel like you're beneath the gods, looking up at them like you're nothing. And then he takes just that part of the painting and brings it right down to where he can look at them.
That's super cool. Yeah, that's such a Luke move. Well, I actually had a different interpretation. I was like, oh, does he want a reminder that the gods will actually crush you? Because that's how I initially thought about it when you described it.
Yeah, the fact that they're both the giants, and both sort of like from the perspective of the giants. What do we think he likes about it? What do we
I liked your initial. I like what you said. Of like, I'm gonna look them in the eyes.
But it's also like, why are the two giant paintings in his room and all of the Kronos paintings are outside?
I think maybe he saw that painting and really enjoyed the unique way it depicts the gods in like a negative light and like makes you really understand and feel your place in the world when the gods rule.
Maybe he has, I mean, even though they lost, it could be that like reminder that fighting the gods is possible. A war against the gods is possible. And like, here's the proof of it.
I like that read on it.
The one that's behind the coffin, I did not look closely enough at, and I should have, because it's original to the show.
Yeah, I remember staring at it for so long while we were in the room. Although it was hard to like see all of it because it was dark, but it just looked like the sacking of a city. I like Constantinople came to mind.
I need to take a closer look at it. I think it looks like we'll be back here later this season.
Yeah, I think maybe that one will become more relevant later this season.
All right, actually getting into what happens in this room. It took me like 3 hours to get through this when I was watching it for this episode, because I kept pausing it after every line that Luke had. Every time he spoke, I had to put my head in my hands. I just...
God, the acting in this scene is...
I want to talk about the body language at the very beginning. Because as soon as the conversation starts, Luke directs like all of his attention to Annabeth when he talks, and she's
like looking away from him, right? Like
she's got her head down. She like can't deal with this. Like she can't. This is a confrontation that I don't think she feels at all prepared to have. Then Percy cuts in and says, "Your dad told me," directing all of that attention back at him. And Luke, like, Charlie's acting in this scene is so good.
So good. You, like, can watch the fury ripple through his face and then, like, get tamped down.
He hears Percy, looks away from Annabeth, but not at Percy. And then finally lets himself look at Percy and is like... It's the combination of him, like, butting into that part of the conversation and also him saying, like, the worst thing he could have said. So Percy tells Luke that Hermes thinks that Percy needs to save him. Percy says, "I disagree." Luke's entire face, he's just like barely holding it back, and he says, "All good?" It's like saying all good while like visibly holding back so much anger.
Oh my god. I love how Percy is like, okay, I guess we're not going to kidnap him, so I'm just going to antagonize him.
It's a slightly different reaction than what Percy has in the book, because in the book he's really scared in that room. Like he's sort of terrified to be standing in front of Luke again after what Luke did to him. Like his hands are shaking, He says that he like had this image of what he would do to Luke if he ever saw him again, but he's just too shaken to do anything. But in this version, the fear is manifesting less. The anger is clearly there and is manifesting as snark. But I think it probably comes from like that the very first thing that he feels he needs to do in this scene is protect Annabeth. And so he's like happy to overcome whatever he's feeling to stand between them. Because he can tell that Annabeth isn't able to have this conversation right now. So Percy tells Luke that the gods know where he is, and so he should surrender so that Zeus spares his life. And Luke sees through that. He says, Zeus doesn't do mercy. Look at how he spared his own daughter.
Which, again, Percy said something similar earlier this season, so...
Mm-hmm. And then Luke points out that Poseidon hasn't stopped him yet, and shouldn't Poseidon be the one that he's afraid of, and says that maybe Poseidon hasn't stopped him because Poseidon is too busy fighting already, because Titans are returning with the return of Kronos. We also hear the voice of Kronos again. This is new. This is like entirely new just for the show, for like Percy to be having conversations with Kronos in his head.
It does open the possibility of Thalia having conversations with Kronos in season 3, though, which I would be very interested in.
It opens up a lot of questions about like how far Kronos's grasp goes. It seems like he's able to reach out to Percy. If Percy is close to Kronos, he can reach out to him. I'm just very curious how this is going to be used. The fact that like Kronos can speak in this way while he's awake, while he is still forming. I'm just curious how this is going to be used.
Yeah.
It's a new tool in their toolbox, and I'm just looking forward to whatever that means. Luke explains that every demigod who joins them, Kronos grows stronger, his essence is gathering piece by piece. Was waiting here for what Annabeth says in the book, which is she's like, disgusting. But Annabeth's a little too out of it to say anything at this point. And as Luke explains their plan, he mentions that they're going to forge a new body for him. I hate when characters say things and they don't know things. Like the dramatic irony happening here of like Luke talking about we're going to forge a new body for him. Talking about the great prophecy with Percy and being like, oh, you don't know what's in it? And it's like, you don't know what's in it. You don't. And then we get an exchange that like broke me further. Annabeth says to Luke, like, that's why you destroyed all that's left of your oldest friend. To which he says, you didn't know her. And I have to kill him for this. Did you also have a moment watching this? Because this is the conversation that we had reading this scene when we read The Sea of Monsters. As we were reading it, I brought up that, like, I read this scene and I start to question who knew Thalia better, because Luke was closer to Thalia's age and knew her longer, and Annabeth was just a kid, was basically the point that I made. And then we had a conversation about how, because she's gone now, we now just sort of have to make of her story what we make of it. And so when Luke turned around and said, you didn't know her, and said all of that, and like threw what I had said back in her face, I was like, you're not supposed to say it. That's me. It's okay when I say it.
Well, I love introducing that in a season where we know we're gonna get to see it, you know? And this is something we've been talking about for a while. It's like, can we show more of this relationship? Can we see more? Can we, as the audience, decide for ourselves who's right here? It's interesting, too, because we actually get some concrete information from him also about how long they've known each other. They knew each other.
Yeah. So the full line that he says here is, Thalia and I were on the run together for 2 years. You were with us for 2 months. You were just a kid. Thalia hated Zeus. If she knew about the great prophecy, if she knew she had a chance to tear down Olympus, she would have never given up her life. That was an interesting line. That was a line. That tree is her curse. She'd be glad to see it fall, which is what we talked to Charlie about once upon a time, too. But yeah, concrete numbers. 2 months. It makes sense. Hearing it out loud, 2 months did feel short. Like, what he made this point, and I was like, that's a good point. And it's also a point that I made. So...
What a good point I made.
What a good point we both made, Luke. But like when he spells it out like that, you're like, actually, I do watch this and wonder what Thalia would think. The specific phrasing of this line, though, where he says, if she knew she had a chance to tear down Olympus, she would have never given up her life. That means that she would have let Luke and Annabeth die. Like, she wouldn't have given up her life to make sure that they all made it to camp. She would have made sure that she lived so that she could tear down Olympus. It's sort of what's implied by that line. I continue to be fascinated by the image that we paint of Thalia in this show, and especially getting to hear Luke's perspective on her and the choices she would have made. It makes me very curious what we're going to do with her in the flashbacks, and if we are going to lean into, like, Luke might be right. So Percy hears Luke say great prophecy and is like, what did he just say? And Luke gives this little smile because he realizes, oh, Annabeth knows about the great prophecy and you don't. And he says, this is how the gods divide us, by walling off the truth. And then doesn't tell him, which I love. It's like, let me just let you know that what Annabeth's doing is wrong. Drive that wedge in between the two of you and then keep going. And then we head down into the training area, where like one of our first shots is of one of the rogue demigods attacking a mannequin that's wearing a Camp Half-Blood shirt.
I love that they kept that detail from that book. 'Cause it's such a powerful image in the book. I love it.
Annabeth points out that there are demigods and monsters working together. Luke whips around, says, we don't really use that word around here, and I just am obsessed with him, like, immediately canceling Annabeth.
Although he fails to provide an alternative.
He doesn't. He just says we're all children of the gods. But, like, it's so crazy seeing Luke speak the way our heroes will speak. Like, it will take them 15 years to get to that point, you know? Like, that's the most recent Percy Jackson book that we're finally saying, what if we didn't call them monsters?
Yeah. Like, what if they had thoughts and feelings? I don't know. Like...
What if we didn't, like, draw that distinction because we're all children of the gods? Like, the first time that we're ever saying that out loud, it's years from now in terms of the books. Mm-hmm. And then to go back to Sea of Monsters and have Luke, the villain, say it. Mm-hmm. This scene reads so differently if you are currently, like, caught up on the Percy Jackson books. Hey guys, Editing Phoebe here. This is the first of several questions we asked at the press junket that are relevant to this episode specifically. So you're going to hear from me a couple times during this episode. But we did ask Rick about the inclusion of this moment for Luke. So I'll put the audio from that conversation in here.
So, for starters, you just came off the Court of the Dead book tour, and I think anybody who has read Court of the Dead, watching episode 3 of this season, is going to maybe lean forward a little bit when they hear Luke actually not refer to the Last Dragonians as monsters on the Princess Andromeda. Was that just a happy coincidence, or were those two sort of informing each other?
I think on a very deep meta level, they were probably informing each other, but it wasn't a direct connection. We weren't really talking, across the lines about what we were doing in the book and this. But yes, it absolutely dovetails beautifully, and it makes a lot of sense because this season is all about perspective. Who's the narrator and who's the hero and who's not?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's a great point to make, though. Like, it's such a good point to make in this book. Yeah. That, like, when we look over and we see that Tyson is getting to use his skills and is, like, having them nurtured and getting to have, like, a community around him that is supporting his creation, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I did enjoy, like, when we kind of turn around and we see, like, the back, there's a whole grouping of, like, demigods and monsters all, like, eating together, which had me kind of thinking, like, it sort of reminded me a little bit of the Clarisse scenes where it's like they're all like together eating, sharing a meal, like bonding.
But yeah, you look at Tyson and you're like, he does deserve this. Like, there's almost a part of you that's like, maybe Tyson should at least take this take this offer.
Part of me, I think, felt watching this whole exchange with Luke's still, like, kind of talking, and you get the sense that he's like, no, my arguments are still really persuasive. Like, he has Tyson taken down there, I think, because he genuinely is like, yeah, obviously, this is, like, Tyson's gonna enjoy himself down there, and it will be, like, it just feels like there's this confidence in his own argument. That makes sense, because there are many parts of it that are compelling and right in many ways.
That was what I thought was unique about the way that this scene is being rewritten. Because when we talked about it, we talked about how the offers he's making to Annabeth are very targeted toward Annabeth and are like what Annabeth wants. But when he talks about Percy, he only knows a couple details about Percy, and so it's harder for him to like give Percy a compelling offer. But in this scene, with him like treating Tyson the way that he does, with him offering Percy, if you joined us, you could end the war tonight. We wouldn't have to keep going if you were with us. People wouldn't have to die. I was like, that's exactly how you tempt Percy Jackson. Like, this is a Luke that gets it. That was something that I was really excited to see, that there's like, this is a version of the story where, you know, in the books we talked about how Percy is sort of unpredictable to Luke because Luke just doesn't totally get what makes him tick. And we talked about how last season he kind of projected a lot of his own wants onto Percy, and that was why he failed to see that Percy wasn't totally on the same page as him. But I feel like now, because he made that mistake, he understands how to get at Percy. And he probably also has Kronos in his mind telling him things about Percy. And so now this is a Luke who actually knows how to maybe get under Percy's skin, how to tempt him. And that's exciting to see.
Yeah. And then it's like he's making so many points, but even in this moment when Annabeth and Percy are both like, well, what about the mortals and what about Camp Half-Blood? This is the one place where Luke's argument kind of falters and he doesn't have a response. And his response for Camp Half-Blood is, I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically just like, well, they'll join me clearly, so that won't be a problem.
Right. Overconfident Luke strikes again.
And again, it's just so interesting to me. But it's just like, also again, like, so Luke, they wouldn't be joining you because they think you're right then. They'd be joining you because they're terrified of you.
But he probably thinks, like, once I, like, am able to talk to them, though, I haven't gotten a chance to just talk to them. Once they see how cool my boat is.
It is a pretty cool boat.
It is a very cool boat, and I would be joining. I'm not an outdoorsy person. I need the amenities that are on the boat. I can't be at Camp Half-Blood. I think my last note on this conversation that I want to bring up is when they start talking about the prophecy again. There's a point where he actually, like, quotes the prophecy sort of at Percy. Like, he says, like, if a child of the eldest three were to join us. And I was like, oh, you, like, know things. You, like, know things. And then he says that, like, Kronos told him the great prophecy. He speaks directly to me now. And Annabeth says, and you trust him not to twist the words of a prophecy in his favor. Luke says the words are clear. And Annabeth says, it's prophecy, the words are never clear. I want to know what Luke's interpretation of the prophecy is. Because he seems very confident that he understands what this prophecy means. And, like, it's a moment where, like, she says that, and I think that Luke hears her. Because he has had his own prophecy for his quest. He's had his mother's prophecies his entire life. And so for him to stand there and be like, the words are clear, it's like, you of all people know that the words are probably not clear. But I guess that proves how deep Kronos is in his head. If Kronos can convince him that this is what it means, and I know that. But, you know, when we talked about Luke's diary, we talked about how Luke watched Hal's prophecy come true on the hill, and might have also had this very, like, certain interpretation of his own fate walking out of that experience. So this might also just be evidence of that mindset. So then there's this moment where Allison tries to step in between Luke and Annabeth and says, she's tricking you. I see right through it. And you, like, hear her pull her weapon. And in that moment, both Luke and Percy step between her and Annabeth and are like, hey. Which I enjoyed. I enjoyed, like, we're all, like, kind of arguing, and then Allison steps in, and they're both like, hey, actually, this is a conversation between us.
I guess in many ways what we've been kind of dancing around is that Allison is sort of the stand-in for, like, the most ruthless version of Luke in many ways.
Yeah. She's, like, pure aggression. It's this great contrast to Luke, Because placing her next to Luke, her being this aggressive just emphasizes how much Luke is not right now. And, like, we know some of that aggression lives in him. Like, we saw it in his fight with Percy last season. Like, he's still, you know, push the wrong button and he will try to kill a 12-year-old. But here, he's, for the most part, very cordial, very controlled. And Allison is standing next to him, almost like a manifestation of what's lurking underneath, to me. Because she doesn't, like, fully respect the monsters on board. She is very quick to try to turn Luke on Annabeth and, like, try to kill people who don't agree with them. And there's all this rage there. Like, she's sort of just the underbelly of, like, what's pushing a lot of these kids underneath all of Luke's campaigning. So putting her next to Luke, I think it's both, like, it acts to show how much Luke is not trying to kill them right now. You know, like, they're sort of playing the, like, brain and brawn roles. But in some ways, I feel like she is the truth beneath it all also. Editing Phoebe here once again. This is another question that we asked at the press junket, this time to the showrunners. So here is some of the audio from that conversation. We also have a new character this season that's original to the show, which is Allison Simms, who I am loving seeing interact with Luke so far. So I'm curious, when you were coming up with a new character to build out the rogue demigods, why did Allison feel like the right character to put next to Luke?
The project was to give voice and dimension to the other rogue demigods who filled out Luke's growing army, and that they each had their own story of why they broke away from their cabin or allegiance to their cabin and their parent, or if they were unclaimed, that could have been a step in that direction. And Allison Simms, it just occurred to be a person you meet and to tell that story very quickly, and like when Oak Grover knew her, he knew her at camp, and that if you look at Luke's army, each one of those people has a different story, like Allison. We know the story. I don't think it comes out in this season, but we know the story of why each of them broke away. But that's something to just build out the universe and make it feel fleshed out.
And I think Rick really responded to that character too, because I don't know when you guys interviewed him, but just expanding on Luke's world. You don't get to do it in the books. It's all Percy's point of view. So this is like an opportunity as we are going and following Clarisse or following Luke or like that we have to expand the world and give voice to the things that these different characters are grappling with. So that part of it was really fun to explore. It's where we can pull out stuff, that isn't necessarily in the DNA of it, but it is all there. And so Allison Simms was really to voice that.
I love how rageful she is.
It comes in handy.
Yeah, as you watch more
at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's dealing with a lot.
My other fun detail is after the bomb explodes. The way Charlie is lying after getting leveled by a bomb is so funny to me, where he's got like one leg up and he looks almost like he's in a J. Crew catalog.
That's how he's described in the book. It's only accurate. What is it? An evil male model showing off what Harvard students are wearing or something?
I see it, yeah. He's got these cuff pants and boat shoes, no socks. Canon,
yeah.
Connecticut, Westport.
Yeah. He's unfortunately dressed like every rich kid, which is like, I don't think that Luke was a rich kid in Westport. I think he grew up around rich kids. Do we think he dresses like this because he always wished that this was someone he was, and now that he owns a whole cruise ship, he's like, look at me now, I can dress like a Westporter?
That makes sense to me. It's like all of this stuff, I think he feels like he's been denied all of this stuff his whole life, so it only makes sense. Like, I mean, come on, like the first time you realize you can buy stuff you wanted as a kid with adult money. I think my best example of this actually is the time I remembered that like I made money and could just buy myself a Switch in Animal Crossing, which was a splurge to be sure, but it was just like, oh wait, I can just do that.
Yeah, I guess I sort of had that moment recently when I was like, you know what? I have enough adult money. I've been saving it. I can buy that like front row ticket to see a band. Like I can invest the money to go be like the person I always wanted to be in the front row at a concert.
He's healing his inner child right now, is what he's doing.
In a unhealthy way. I think a child who didn't have that much and was on the run for all that time being handed like millions of dollars and a cruise ship
And goes to Ralph Lauren, you'd be like,
imagine being handed that much money and being like, I'm gonna dress like I shop exclusively at Vineyard Vines.
so they run and escape. Allison, as she's trying to like bust open the door, is like screaming.
What is her problem? I'm like, I need to know more. She's so angry. I'm like, what happened? Why are you like that? And I love as they escape, Percy's staring Luke down as he opens the thermos that he got as a gift from Luke's dad.
And I think Luke knows. I think a part of Luke is like, he knows that they ran into Hermes, and now he's seeing like clearly a gift from a god at work. He'd be like,
Yeah.
because it's like kind of a paranoid thing to think, but like he would, you know?
I'd say Luke's fairly paranoid, yeah.
Yeah. And then we cut to Clarisse.
Who's on the deck of the Ironclad. Everyone's still not acknowledging her.
And this isn't as overt a parallel, like, in terms of the visuals for the Princess Andromeda, but it is interesting to me that we're ending on, like, Luke on the ship he's a captain of, surrounded by people, powerless to stop this thing happening, and probably in that moment feeling a bit like a loser.
Yep. Cut to Clarisse, almost to herself.
Yeah.
At first, saying, aren't you tired of losing? My two captains. She says, you're all losers, right? You owe a debt to the god of war because you failed in battle. But let me ask you guys, what do you owe to yourselves? Because maybe this is more than just another tour of duty. Maybe this is a second chance to change how you're seen, to change your fate. You all have that chance right now to become the heroes who found the Golden Fleece, to take this win and shove it down the throats of everyone who's ever doubted you. When you return to the underworld, it won't be to Asphodel. It won't be to the fields of punishment. You will be exalted in the fields of Elysium. And then when she asks who's with me, they finally start to listen. To change your fate was the big, like, the big one for me.
Me too. I think, again, this speech shows me so much about her as a character. Like, we've seen her lose capture the flag to Percy. We've seen her on the back foot on this quest. But I don't think we've seen her, like, losing to the extent that this... In a way that makes me think, like, I think a lot of this is coming from her. Not necessarily, like, single or couple, like, major experiences. I think there's so much pressure she's put on herself to be a great hero that she feels like she's not living up to. Like, getting that prophecy, getting told she's gonna fail, I think it eats away at her. There's an interesting theme, I think, of, like, people taking words of prophecy specifically and twisting them to what they want it to be. But what's interesting here is I feel like, and this it's the same as in the book, she sort of hears this prophecy and actually interprets it in a far worse way than it actually ends up panning out. Which I think says a lot about her as a character. And I think, like, the fact that we see her give it to herself sort of backs up this idea of, like, she isn't necessarily coming in with hubris. She's actually coming in with a lot more of, like, her own self-doubt holding her back. It sort of brought full circle this idea that I think we'd been circling of, like, what does it mean to be a loser in this world? And, like, how does that play out in characters who've been taught to value glory so much? Which is why I've connected her a lot with Luke's journey in this episode, too. Just because I think these are the two most glory-seeking characters, so I really find it interesting how paralleled they are here. It's sort of interesting how, in many ways, like, Percy's bringing Luke down and kind of reminding him of all the ways he is kind of, I guess not a loser, but in the sense of, like, well, your dad came to me and not you. Annabeth likes me, not you. Like, I don't know, there's, like, so many little things, I think, little digs Percy has against Luke in that last sequence. And I think in a similar way, like, our two captains have had that same response of, like, I want to change my fate. But it plays out very differently because Clarisse is still working within the system of the Olympians, and Luke's left it behind.
Mm-hmm. I also just enjoy this parallel as a competition of how do you use your words to bring a person to your side. Like, how do you convince someone that you're worth listening to? Because we see the two of them going back and forth between using reason, using temptation with like promises of Elysium or of ending the war. There's force and aggression. Like, they're each just trying to persuade to the best of their abilities. And it's just so interesting watching the two of them try to navigate, how do I prove to these people that I am a leader worth following? There's such a stark visual contrast, too, when we go between these two ships. This kind of beat-up, dingy old ship that's very cool, but it's old, with a dead crew. And that is seeing more success than Luke on his, like, pristine cruise ship in his fancy clothes. Like, it's such an image seeing Luke at the railing covered in ash after the explosion on his pristine cruise ship.
I think the other thing that's interesting about these two being so parallel this episode is the fact that, like, as we are reminded by all the artwork, Kronos is a loser. He lost a pretty big war. And, like, in many ways, he is also a loser brought back for a purpose. Like, there's something about losers, bringing a loser of a war back from the dead that actually extends beyond Clarisse's crew here in an interesting way. And look at how joyous they all are to work together, to put aside their differences, and to, like, have a second chance, like, a chance to reclaim their fate. And look at how easily that is a uniting factor. I think it's more pointing to the real appeal of Kronos' draw, I think. And just, like, how many people in this world who come from so many different places have this in common. I think in a way it's also, like, pointing us to, like, don't look at the big heroes. Don't look at the, like, you know, big names and the gods. Look at everyone else, which I think is something the show is very much trying to say. I think this is also maybe something we should revisit later in the season, when we see a bit more of Clarisse in command, and Luke.
Yeah, I mean, Clarisse is about to have a big moment in command. Okay, second to last interruption from me in this episode. While we were at the press junket, we also asked Charlie and Dior about Luke versus Clarisse's leadership styles, inspired by this episode. So here is a clip from that part of our interview.
So in episode 3, we get to see Luke and Clarisse parallel the ship captains.
Madness and badness. Talk about it.
So, yeah, can we talk a bit about your characters' leadership styles and how they're taking on this new duty?
Okay, so there's a big shift in her leadership style. I think that's the biggest thing, is that she starts out really trying to embody Ares and be just like her dad and be like, you know what, monkey see, monkey do. This is what daddy did, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be so good, and he's finally going to love me. And that doesn't happen, like, at all in the slightest. It actually blows up in her face. So seeing her go from trying to embody this very, like, masculine, like, energy, and, I mean, granted, she does have it, but trying to lead in a way that's not natural to her, and have that not work, and then watch her make that decision to shift and be like, you know what, I have nothing left to lose. If I die, I'm going out in honor. I'm going to try it a different way and become, like, the very strong, fierce, like, female leader that she is. I think is such a beautiful arc, and I'm very excited for, like, young girls to see it. Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Luke, he's definitely stepped into his power a lot this season. He's much more of a leader, and I think he's enjoying every minute of it. You know, he's got the clothes, he's got the cruise ship.
He living sweet. He like, I look good, smell good, fresh
haircut. He's in the Admiralty suite. You know, but not only that, like it's very clear that he wants to share that with everyone else. You know, like you know, we see the revolutionary that he is this season, particularly in episode 3 when he's kind of talking to Percy and Annabeth, and you know he's fighting for equality, like he's fighting for everyone, And so that was really fun to play with and explore. And yeah, it was nice to get out of the Camp Half-Blood shirt. No, I miss it. I miss it, though. Yeah. I miss it as well.
And then we get our final scene of the episode, where Tyson first is talking about the Lost Dragonians and saying they're not so bad.
Yeah.
But he ended up making the bomb because of his loyalty and love for Percy and Annabeth. So sweet. And we get a repeat of the Sally Jackson quote.
A real hero stands up for others.
Mm-hmm. And then Percy is talking to Annabeth, and Annabeth is... Luke's gotten to her, because now she is questioning a lot of things. Her relationship with Thalia. She's wondering if he's right. She's feeling lost, and also she's feeling lost because Chiron didn't tell her the exact words of the prophecy.
Yeah.
So she can't know for sure if Luke's right or not, and it's eating at her.
So she says to Percy that if Luke's right about anything, it's that you deserve to know the truth about your own fate. And Percy comes closer. There's like some thunder outside to set the tone, to bring Thalia into the conversation, maybe. And she says that the prophecy tells of a child of the eldest three who, upon reaching 16 years of age, will become a powerful weapon. I loved this phrasing of it because of, at the end of the Sea of Monsters, Luke and Kronos describing Percy as an unpredictable weapon, I think is the...
It's unreliable. Sorry, it's an unreliable weapon.
Unreliable weapon, thank you. And Annabeth goes on to say, the hero of the prophecy will decide the fate of Olympus, a single choice that either saves the age of the gods or destroys it. It's such a moment where you see him processing it, and then without like a clear reaction to it yet, he says, "What do you think?" And Annabeth looks away and can't answer him. Because, like she said, the prophecies are messy. Like, she can't give a definitive answer on it because she knows that would kind of contradict what she just said to Luke. And we end with Percy saying, "You were right, I wish I didn't know."
Why do you think Percy wishes he doesn't know?
I think Percy also knows that you can't anticipate a prophecy based on his experience with them last season. So he might be thinking, like, it's not something that, like, he can anticipate and make sure that he makes the right choice. Or he might feel like, what if I make the wrong choice? You know, like, it's now every choice that you ever make has, like, way more weight to it.
I could see it also making him doubt himself in the sense of, like, if I was, like, very adamant about something, and then someone said, so there's a great prophecy, and you might choose the thing you're adamant about or the thing you're not adamant about, I'd be sitting there, like, questioning if the thing I was adamant about was actually something I was adamant about. Like, I think it would make me question, like, why would there be a prophecy about me making a decision that I thought was an easy one?
Right. Nightmare scenario for someone as opinionated as Percy Jackson is what's happening.
Yeah. And so it's just like, what is going to happen that is going to make me see that side? And I think it, in a way, it kind of forces you to, like, look back on everything and be like, why would I pick that? And then you might start thinking about it in a way of, like, why would I pick it instead of, obviously I'm not going to? That might, considering there are some valid points Luke is making, that might send you spiraling a little bit.
I think also the word that we're not bringing up here is weapon. That, like, the knowledge that he's going to, if he reaches 16, become something to be used. And that, like, it almost implies that there isn't a choice in the matter because he's being used by someone else. And, like, even though that word's not in the actual prophecy, the use of it here implies that, like, Chiron knows that, like, Kronos is going to try and use Percy. The gods are going to try and use Percy. Like, everyone is going to try and make Percy their pawn, keyword. And we know how Percy feels about that. And so there's, like, a loss of autonomy that's implied. There's a loss of, like, even though it's a prophecy about a choice, whatever choice you make, you're being used as a weapon to destroy something. It adds, like, another layer to every time Percy's powers increase, to watching him become more powerful over the seasons. It adds this, like, we're getting there, though.
That's a good point.
Okay, one last time. Here is a clip from our interview with the showrunners of us asking about this decision to go with this version of how much Annabeth knows of the Great Prophecy. In the books, we get two conflicting versions of how Annabeth learned the Great Prophecy. We get either she learned pieces of it as a kid, or in another book, she knew the entire thing. She read the whole thing as a 10-year-old. Why was this the version that you ended up landing on?
The idea that it started with Percy more than Annabeth. The idea that Percy was aware of this great prophecy that involved him, and that had huge stakes to it, and that he was okay with not learning it later, didn't quite fit with this Percy. That he was so driven. He'd be like, I'll learn that later. So we needed him to know. We don't need him to know the whole thing, but we needed that to happen, and so it was about building conflict around it coming up, and I think there was a drama to having Annabeth learn it along with the audience, and it puts you in her shoes and helps. And those are the kind of things that fed into that.
And just being the luxury of the books, right? Like that we have to take advantage of the fact that we have all of them. You know what I mean? That Rick, when he was writing forward, didn't, had certain things that he just wrote forward. This is like, how do we pull these things in to really make sure these things are going to hopefully land if we get to make many more seasons of this. So to be able to pull from that was great.
Do we have a bead for this episode?
Yes.
Imagine if you said no. I don't think I'll do one for this one.
I think I want it to be one of the ale tankards that they're, doing their shanty with. I want it to be the sea shanty, but that's not physical.
I think, okay, I'm going to give mine to... I kind of want to give it to that painting that I talked about.
Mm.
But that sounds annoying to paint onto a bead.
Thank you all for listening to Monster Donut. Next time, episode 4, Clarisse blows up everything. If you have any thoughts, feelings, analysis, or questions about this episode, please share them with us. I cannot wait to get to talk about this. I feel like there's been so much to dig into already this season, and it's just really exciting. We are eventually also going to be doing a big wrap-up episode, answering questions, coming back to anything we didn't come full circle on in this season at the end. So if you have anything already that you want to ask or that you want to share of your own thoughts on this episode, you can do so in a variety of ways. You can email us at monsterdonutpodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment wherever you may be listening to this episode. You can also find us at PJOpod across most social media platforms, namely Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Threads. If you also want to see any of the pictures or videos we mentioned that we took while we were visiting set, you will find those there as well. On all of our social media, you can also find our link tree where you can find a link to buy our merch if you are so inclined, as well as support us on Ko-fi or Patreon. Both those things really help us out and allow us to be able to do some of the cooler stuff we've gotten to be able to do and share with y'all, like our interviews. So if you are interested in supporting us, that way is a great way to do it. Otherwise, if you are not able to support us monetarily but are enjoying the pod, you can always recommend us to a friend or leave a rating or review. That also really helps us out. And yeah, we love getting to have more people come into the conversation. To that end, thank you to our patrons.
Latino Kaya, Patty VCK, Bethany from Public Works, Sydney Fox, Joke, Reina Avila Ramirez Arellano, Ethan Not Nakamura, Kels, Mason Bowman, Casey Cassidy, Busy Cat, Natalia, Melissa Rounds, Kate Coffey, Sasha, Alana, Pamela Ion, The Kid on Her Own, Grace Hunker, Kaylee, Manu Monchian, Calamity, Eddie Burns, Sarah Brown, Colby Redfern, May, Anna, Christina, Bad Luck, B, Baster, and Nicole. Thank you all so much for supporting the pod. We will see you soon in, I guess, the entrance to the Sea of Monsters. It sounds like it's Thalia time.
Yes.
Bye,
everyone.
When you invest with Fidelity Go, it does all the work for you. So while Fidelity Go monitors the markets, rebalances your portfolio, and tracks your progress to keep your investments aligned with your goal, you can invest your time however you want, all while paying no advisory fees under $25K. Invest your money, not your time, with Fidelity Go. Get started at fidelity.com/go. Advisory services offered by Strategic Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Brokerage services provided by Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE and SIPC.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living Associates have been committed to creating a vibrant culture and delivering exceptional services, making Brightview a great place to work and live. If you're looking for a rewarding opportunity to serve your local community and grow, we want you to join our team. Brightview Senior Living is growing and actively seeking vibrant associates to join our community teams, including directors, healthcare, activities, hospitality, and dining. Apply today at careers.brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal employment opportunities. Text BV Jobs to 97211 to apply.